You have seen the screenshots. There is always that person on social media turning $500 into $50,000 in a single month using nothing but their phone and a beach chair. It looks incredibly easy, and it looks like the ultimate path to freedom. However, there is a brutal reality that those flashy posts will never mention to you. By this time next year, 9 out of 10 people who start trading today will have absolutely $0 left in their brokerage accounts. They will not just fail to get rich, they will be completely wiped out of the game. I want to make sure you are not one of them. We are going to ignore the hype and focus on the science of why this happens. If you want to actually turn this into a career, you need to understand the single most important rule of the first 12 months. This rule is not about your strategy, and it is not about which coin or stock you pick. It is about something much deeper. Let us get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we focus on the two forces that actually move the needle in the markets, which are human psychology and cold, hard data. Today we need to have a very honest conversation about your first year, because most people are set up for failure before they even place their first trade. I remember when I first started. I felt that incredible rush of excitement. You find a chart, you see the patterns, and you start doing that dangerous math in your head. You think that if you can just make 1% or 2% every day, you will be a millionaire in no time. It is a very intoxicating feeling. That specific feeling is exactly what kills most accounts. The biggest mistake new traders make is not using the wrong technical indicators. It is not about whether they use RSI or MACD or some expensive proprietary software. The mistake is having a completely wrong objective from day one. Almost everyone enters their first year with the goal of making a lot of money. While that sounds logical on the surface, it is actually a track. In the world of trading, aiming to make a fortune in your first year is like trying to win a professional athletic championship the very first time you pick up a ball. You are not just going to lose, you are going to get hurt. The market is a professional environment. It is a zero-sum game where you are competing against the smartest minds and the fastest computers on the planet. They are looking for people who are desperate to get rich quick because those people are the easiest to take money from. If the goal is not to get rich in year one, then what is it? I am going to give you the golden directive. This is the only thing that matters for your first 12 months. If you follow this, you have a future. If you ignore it, you are just temporary liquidity for the professionals. The number one rule to survive your first year is simply this. Your only goal is to finish the year with enough money left to keep trading. It sounds boring and it sounds very underwhelming. However, I promise you that this is the hardest thing you will ever do in finance. Let us look at the science of why this simple rule of survival is so incredibly difficult for our brains to handle. It comes down to how we are evolved as human beings. We are essentially walking around with ancient hardware in a modern, digital environment. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in a world where resources were scarce. If you saw a bush full of berries or a slow animal, you had to act immediately. If you hesitated or waited to analyze the situation, you probably starved. We are biologically wired to seize opportunities aggressively. In the modern world of trading, this ancient survival instinct manifests as FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. When you see a green candle shooting up on a chart, your brain's ancient wiring starts screaming at you. It tells you to grab the resource before someone else does. This causes you to buy at the very top of a move and the professional traders are actually selling to you. Then the price starts to drop and a different instinct kicks in. This is called loss aversion. Psychologically speaking, it hurts twice as much to lose $1 as it feels good to gain $1. We absolutely hate admitting pain and we hate being wrong. When your trade goes into the red, your brain tries to protect you by telling you to hold on. It tells you that it will eventually come back and that you should not finalize the pain by closing the trade. You freeze up like a deer in headlights. You watch a small, manageable loss turn into a catastrophic disaster because you are trading on hope rather than a plan. There is also a very dangerous trap I call the illusion of skill. Ironically, the worst thing that can happen to a new trader is making a lot of money right away. If you walk into a casino and hit the jackpot on your first try, you probably do not think you are lucky. A small part of your brain starts to think you are a natural talent. In trading, a lucky winning streak early on reinforces every bad habit you have. You take way too much risk and you get rewarded for it. Your brain releases a massive hit of dopamine and tells you to do it again, but even bigger this time. You start confusing a lucky market environment with your own brilliance. Then the market conditions change. The easy money stops flowing. However, you keep using those same reckless tactics because they worked last month. Suddenly, the market takes back everything you made plus your original capital in a matter of days. The market does not care how smart you are, and it does not know you exist. It is a chaotic ocean of human emotion. If you jump in thinking you can command the waves, you are going to drown. Now that we understand the psychology, let us talk about the cold math that proves why survival is the only viable strategy. We need to talk about the concept of drawdown. A drawdown is simply the percentage your account has fallen from its highest point. If you start with $10,000 and you lose $1,000, you have a 10% drawdown. That feels bad, but it is manageable. To get back to 10,000, you need to make about an 11% gain on your remaining 9,000. That is a very reasonable goal. However, this is where the math gets terrifying. The hole gets deeper much faster than most people realize. Let us say you ignore the survival rule because you want that luxury lifestyle immediately. You take a massive risk on a single trade because you have a strong feeling about it, and you end up being wrong. You lose 50% of your account in a single week. You are now down to $5,000. To get back to your starting point of $10,000, you might think you only need a 50% gain. That is incorrect. Because you have half as much money to work with, you actually need a 100% gain just to break even. You have to double your money just to get back to zero. Think about the psychological state of a person who just lost half of their life savings. Do they really have the discipline and the calm mind required to pull off a 100% gain? Almost never. What usually happens is that they try to make it back too fast. They go on tilt like a poker player. They bet bigger and wilder out of desperation to erase the mistake. If you lose 90% of your account, dropping from 10,000 down to 1,000, you now need a 900% gain just to get back to where you started. At that point, you are effectively finished. The game is over. This is why the #1 rule is survival. The math of recovery is stacked against you the moment you take a big hit. The deeper the hole you dig, the exponentially harder it is to climb out. In your first year, you simply do not have the skills yet to climb out of deep holes. Therefore, your entire focus must be on not digging them in the first place. Professional traders obsess over how much they can lose. Amateurs obsess over how much they can win. That is the entire difference between a career and a gamble. So how do we actually do this in practice? How do we fight millions of years of evolution and ignore the allure of quick riches? We have to completely reframe what it means to win in your first year. Winning is not about doubling your account. Winning is making 50 or 100 trades over 12 months. Making a bunch of small mistakes, learning 100 valuable lessons, and still having 85% of your starting capital left on the final day of the year. If you can do that, you are a massive success. You are officially in the top 10% of all beginners. You have to stop looking at trading as a way to pay this month's rent or your car note. The second you absolutely need money from the market, you are trading with fear. Fear leads to hesitation, and hesitation will get you killed. In this environment, I want you to think of your first year's capital as tuition money rather than investment money. You are going to pay tuition to the University of Wall Street one way or another. You can pay it the smart way or you can pay it the stupid way. Paying it the stupid way means blowing your entire account on 3 bad trades because you refuse to use a stop loss or manage your position size. You paid the full price of your account, but you learned almost nothing except for how it feels to lose. Paying it the smart way means taking that same amount of money and spreading it over hundreds of tiny trades. You lose $50 here and maybe $100 there. Each time you lose, you stop and analyze what happened. You write down exactly what you did wrong. You ask yourself if it was FOMO or if it was bad timing or if you were revenge trading. You just paid $100 for a very specific lesson. That is a very cheap education. By the end of the year, you might be down a couple $1,000s total. However, you have bought a year's worth of real-world experience. You have bought pattern recognition and emotional resilience. You have bought the ability to stay calm when things go wrong. That is a fantastic investment in your future self. You have to learn to love taking small losses. A small loss is actually a victory. It means your system worked, and it means you had the discipline to admit you were wrong before the market could crush you. I know it is not sexy to talk about small losses. You will not get many likes or followers by posting about how you managed your risk perfectly and only lost 1% of your account today. The people posting those insane gains are often either lying or they are taking risks that will eventually lead to their total ruin next week. Do not compare your beginning to someone else's highlight reel. Another huge part of surviving your first year is learning the skill of doing absolutely nothing. Most new traders feel like they have to be in a trade every single hour of the day. They feel like if they are not clicking buttons, they are not working. In reality, the market only provides high-quality opportunities a small percentage of the time. The rest of the time, the price is just noise. It is random movements designed to trick people into jumping in. One of the best things you can do for your survival is to set very strict rules for when you are allowed to trade. Maybe you only trade the first 2 hours of the market opening. Maybe you only trade when a specific setup appears on a higher time frame. If you spend your first year learning how to sit on your hands and wait for the right moment, you will be light years ahead of the competition. It takes a lot of mental strength to watch the market move and decide that you are not going to participate because the odds are not in your favor. Survival is not just about managing the trades you take, it is about avoiding the trades you should not take. Every time you avoid a low-quality trade, you are protecting your capital. You are keeping your chips on the table for when the truly great opportunities arrive. If you can survive year 1, something truly magical starts to happen. The game begins to slow down. You stop seeing every little tick in price as a threat or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You start to see the underlying structure of the market. You start to recognize the emotional traps before you actually step into them. You will realize that you do not need to catch every single move. You just need to catch the easy moves that fit your specific plan. The anxiety that you feel right now will slowly be replaced by a quiet confidence. This is not the fake confidence of a lucky streak, but the real confidence that comes from surviving the fire and seeing that you are still standing. You will realize that the market is always going to be there tomorrow. There will always be another trade and another chance to grow your account. You do not have to rush the process, but you only get to experience that realization if you are still in the game. The graveyard of failed traders is filled with very brilliant people. They were often right about the direction of the market, but they went broke anyway because they could not manage their own psychology and their leverage. They tried to get to the finish line in a single jump and they fell into the canyon. Do not try to be a hero in your first year. Your job is not to be the most profitable trader in the world. Your job is to be the person who is still here in year 2. If you can keep your chips on the table long enough to actually learn how the game is played, the money will take care of itself later. I know this is not the most exciting message you could hear today. It is much more fun to talk about moonshots and huge gains. However, I care more about you actually succeeding in the long run than I do about giving you a temporary shot of adrenaline. Trading is one of the hardest ways to make easy money. It requires a level of self-discipline that most people never have to develop in any other part of their lives. But if you can master the rule of survival, you are opening a door to a life that most people only dream about. If this reality check was helpful for you, please do me a favor and hit the like button. It helps the channel more than you know, and it tells the algorithm that people want to see real advice rather than just hype. If you want to join a community of traders who are focused on the science and psychology of the markets, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. We have a lot more deep dives coming up on how to build a mechanical trading plan and how to manage your emotions during a losing streak. I want to hear from you in the comments. What is the biggest lesson you have learned so far in your trading journey? Or if you are just starting, what is the one thing you are most worried about? I try to read as many comments as I can, and I would love to start a conversation down there. Remember that in your first year, survival is the only definition of success that matters. Keep your risks small, keep your head clear, and I will see you in the next video.